Now you can.
No. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order of Lewiston's Historic Preservation Commission, a special meeting on August 13th, 2026. Are there any citizen comments?
There are not, but I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our new commissioner, Jennifer Dreadfulwater. I'll let her introduce herself briefly, and then the commission can go around and say hi.
I'm Jennifer Dreadfulwater. I moved to Lewiston, Idaho at the end of 2023. I am a veteran service officer for the state of Idaho here. Also a military veteran and current military member of the Utah National Guard. And I also attend LCSC, and I'm finishing this term in my history degree and going on for my master's. So
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Okay, so let's just go around. So Bob, you can introduce yourself first.
Yeah, Bob Ritz.
I met you.
Yes, we met. Yeah. So I've been on the board for, I think, close to a year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Greg Follett. I love Portland.
Portland lover.
I really am anymore. I love it.
Dennis, you want to introduce yourself?
Excuse me, I'm Dennis Ortman. I've been on the commission for forever, I feel like. And I am a retired educator. I too am a Portland lover. That's where my granddaughter is spending her honeymoon this week, and our family's been attached to Portland for years as my relatives started Tektronix out there.
I'm Leah Boots. I've been on the commission for, I think, 7 years now. I'm the current chair, and welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Super.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay, so our next item is our approval of the minutes for June 4th, 2026.
Anybody have any changes, any corrections, any suggestions?
No, I move we approve the minutes of June 4th?
June 4th.
Sir?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then next, we move on to the review of priorities plan and determination of projects and activities.
Okay, so usually we review the priorities plan annually or biannually, kind of depends on where you guys are at in life. So I included in your packet the redlined version of the previous one that we had done, and you can see it's marked out 3, 4, 5. I will probably actually do a clean version going into 26. So this has that original plan that I think we were actually working off of from 22 that we've been changing since then. So it has kind of your priorities, and then like the redlined items are things that we've completed or things that you have changed over the years. So I just like for us to review it. And then additionally, I handed out sections from the action plan from our comprehensive plan. So Lewiston redid their comprehensive plan in 2024. It is a 20-year long-range plan. There were members from this commission that participated in that project and steering committee. And there are a couple items within the community character section that I would consider applicable to this commission. So I just wanted to include those in the discussion today and in things that you guys might want to think about. So let's just do a quick read through, and then we can kind of dial some things down, and you guys can tell me what you think about, moving forward. So goal number 1 is to protect the city's historic and cultural resources. And so this includes education, so inform and engage the people of Lewiston to better integrate historic preservation for the education, enjoyment, and welfare of the community. Under that, we put elected official engagement. So incoming elected officials should be invited to participate in an orientation session that includes a presentation of the role of HPC and its responsibilities. That is done, sort of, probably not to the extent it should be, but whenever new counselors do come in, They do go around to all the different departments and get an orientation. Part of the community development's orientation is to review the boards and commissions that we are in charge of, this being one of them. We do have a council member who sits in an advisory role on this commission. But that could always probably be beefed up. The only problem I see there is the willingness and availability of the council people to, come interact with you guys and to take in that information. Ask City Council to declare May as Historic Preservation Month. So we've been doing this annually for the past 4 years, sorry. So I do that each April. I send the request to the mayor. It's usually done in the first meeting of May. They do a proclamation. I invite you guys to come to that with me. So we've been doing that for 4 years now. And so that's just an annual thing that gets done every time. Look for ways to enlarge the audience for historical preservation ideas to affect the community in a positive manner. A previous suggestion from the last time we reviewed this in 25 was a suggestion to highlight the Bargain Hunter Mall since it's currently undergoing renovations with before and after photos and a narrative in conjunction with its new opening. And this could be a social media post with our public information officer. That is still something we can do. They just recently got their certificate of occupancy for the apartments that are upstairs. So that could be something that we choose to pursue in the next couple of months. List historical register properties on the website, and then list historically significant properties. So we do have a link to the State Historic Preservation Office, and actually I do need to check that link. I'll make myself a note since that has been moved under a different category within state government. I need to make sure the link still works. And then link to the National Register of Historic Places is also on our webpage. That one I know still works because that hasn't moved. Something though that the commission has discussed in the past is that historically significant properties. And so previously the historic churches were brought up and we were reviewing that list. And so that's a project we'll probably pick back up this fall and winter. But in general, that would be something that maybe the commission wants to work on. Maybe not necessarily as a plaques project, but I think you would kind of fall into that same realm of work where we would probably come up with a list of properties, maybe utilizing the register, the National Register. There's only 17 properties within the Lewiston area that are listed there, but we could start with that and then go through our Orchid Awards list. We could come up with a list of properties that are significant, probably interface with Mr. Brantine about what information he has. That could be a project.
Are you referring to just churches, or are you referring to
historic properties in general? I think the churches were something that came up when we discussed this the last time, and so we kind of focused on that. Mm-hmm. But in general, I think the commission had expressed an interest in the past of doing just historically significant properties, even if they're not registered properties, just within Lewiston. So that would still be a project you guys could consider. So that's 9. Let's see. So 10 would be for HPC to sponsor speakers on interesting subjects related to historical preservation or history in the area. As identified before, we would need to identify a funding source, and so that could be something with a grant application. Dennis was going to check with Nez Perce County's Historical Society if there were other grants that I'm not aware of. So again, something to just keep in the back of our minds. Let's see, so then also under education was realtors. So this was under civic transparency. So understanding that historic properties will change hands. The city should work to increase transparency in the property transaction process so that potential purchasers understand the implications of ownership of a historic property. We had previously talked about having things like recorded against property or being in the title paperwork. Research that I did with other jurisdictions that have historic districts said that that's not really worth the time, because it still isn't something that seems to be getting relayed in an easy manner to people purchasing properties. You know, when you buy a property and you get that title paperwork, there's like 300 pages and absolutely nobody reads that stuff at all. So I don't know that that would be the way to do it. I do think that, especially as, you know, time marches on and you have more and more younger people coming into being realtors, that continuing to figure out some sort of outreach about historic properties in the historic areas could be done. That's something maybe just to keep in mind. I don't know. So also under that, we had provide more educational opportunities for real estate professionals, prospective buyers, et cetera, to understand the importance of protecting historical properties in the city of Lewiston. An actionable item under that was to provide or distribute a flyer, which is something we would have to create, that explains the importance and requirements of historic preservation at open houses, especially ones that are located in the Normal Hill Heritage Overlay Zone or the West End Historic District. Yeah, so that would be something that we would need to create. So that was kind of the next one, was create a brochure for use by local real estate agents during historic house showings. Language for this could be similar to the Enriching the Future with Lewiston's History, reaching out regularly or annually to area realtors and title companies to inform them of historic boundaries and the impact of a register listing and incentives available to purchasers/owners of historic properties, such as a federal tax program for income producing properties. And there were some other items you guys listed last year. All of them would require some commitment on the commission's part to do these things. So we had like suggested creating a map and a list of historic buildings in downtown district that are already on the register, and then also included an overlay district to show addresses along with a checklist of requirements for business/homeowners who may potentially be purchasing buildings for realtors to include the purchase paperwork. Could also give out these maps/checklists to local lenders who, when signing loan documents, could include the lists in the buyer's paperwork. Have a commission member monitor the multi-listing service, which is the MLS. That's the service that realtors use for their properties, that all realtors use to list properties on a monthly basis, and identify when new listing located within the West End Historic District or the Normal Hill Heritage Overlay Zone is added, and send the map/checklist to the listing agent via email and request that they inform any and all potential buyers of the wonderful opportunity of owning in a historic area and some of the things to take into account if changes are needed to the buildings. Let's see, and so then that kind of pushes down into residential building owners and Normal Hill Heritage Overlay. So
Did you do some sort of presentation with the realtor?
yes,
And how was that received?
I present to the Realtor Association regularly, probably 2 to 3 to 4 times a year on various topics. Regarding zoning. I have specifically done like an HPC one with the maps of the historic district and the heritage overlay. I feel like that's always received well. I don't know if any of that information is actually like absorbed and then used later, is how I would say that. I think they always like hearing me talk. Because I'm probably more interesting than some of the other things they get information on. I just don't know how much of that information is absorbed and then pushed back out to clients, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, at open houses I've been at in the Normal Hill, I never saw anything. None of the realtors put anything out about Normal Hill.
I mean, and there are, well, There are some realtors, the problem is that they hook onto the word historic, right? So they'll be like, oh, it's a historic property, even if it's not, even if it's just
Just
old.
because it's old, yeah.
Yeah. So I think I run into that a lot where people will call and they'll be like, oh, it's a historic property. And I'll be like, it's old. But that doesn't necessarily mean like that it's in the overlay or it's in West End. I think, and honestly, it's one of those things where I feel like West End is a harder thing to explain, which is funny to me because it's been a district for so long that I don't quite understand why people can't wrap their heads around that. But I find that I have more questions or surprises when it comes to commercial buildings.
Really?
Yeah. I think people look at an old house and they'll be like, oh, there must be something, right? But they don't think the same way about buildings within downtown. So I don't know how you fix that.
Could make for a disgruntled buyer when it comes time for a project or a renovation and they weren't aware.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that would.
honestly, like especially in downtown, the things that probably disgruntle people purchasing buildings downtown is them wanting to do something that requires things they didn't think of, like sprinklers, right? They want to have living spaces in a building that didn't previously have living spaces, and they're confused why you have to make that like safe. I feel like it's stuff like that, because normally like there's not a lot of limitations really set by it being in the historic district besides the secondary review, which is, in my mind, is not, I think it sounds a lot scarier than it is.
Right.
And if you're a developer coming from somewhere where they're a little more hard-nosed about it, like Boise has like 38 or something historic districts. And their Historic Preservation Commission acts much more like a planning and zoning commission, and so they have these big public hearings, and there's it's a lot more contentious down there. And I've had people come through who are surprised how much easier the process is, and that it's not, I guess, as rigorous or as limiting. I think probably the most limiting thing in the historic district is signage. And that's mostly just size. And not having can't have new electronic message centers. So there's some that are existing and those are allowed to exist, but can't have a new one. But I find that honestly, mostly it seems like that's the kind of stuff that comes in for review. I actually just took in an application yesterday that I have to finish processing this morning after this meeting. And so that one will be on the next meeting. I'm gonna get that noticed and out for signage.
Because I was just curious if the realtors see it as a hindrance and so they're not really wanting to mention it.
Oh, I think they do. I think they see any sort of rule as a hindrance. You can't do whatever you want. You can't do things that are unsafe. You can't do things that encroach on other people's property or
That's kind of what I was
that are
getting at.
problematic. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to make a sale.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's one that we spend a lot of energy on, right?
Wouldn't matter anyway. Right?
Okay, so then ongoing historic priorities. So the city should recognize and promote praiseworthy efforts to beautify Lewiston and make the community more livable, particularly in the West End Historic District, Normal Hill Heritage Overlay Zone. So our previous thoughts on this would be, this could include a series of social media posts aimed at discussing the benefits of protecting historic character, such as increasing property values or recognizing the value of embodied energy when it comes to preserving the original building materials. So when we discussed this previously, we needed to decide on and draft what those posts would say and include. And then working towards is the next one, which we've been doing. And I thought it was really good that the commission did honorable mentions this last time, because I think that did drum up additional interest. And a couple of the folks that received honorable mentions attended and were really pleased to be recognized for, making improvements to their properties, even if it didn't, be to the extent that a true Orchid Award would be. So I do think that doing the honorable mention was a really good idea. I think that did push the recognition out a little bit more. Let's see, so then we have improve, and I don't remember what this came from, improved signage, standardized signage design, install new signage where needed, and repair or replace signage that is non-conforming. I don't remember what that was supposed to be.
I don't remember that at all.
I
Right,
don't either.
I'm like, whose signage?
Is that related to street signs
I don't know.
and city signs?
I'm like, I don't remember what that's for. I know at one point, it had been brought up, not by the commission, but someone else had brought it up to me, that there are a couple of historic signs, and I had been asked about if the commission could work on like restoring them. Like there's one in the parking lot that marks some site over here. And then there's one next to the library that has the outline of the original historic district. But the problem is there's not good grant funding for signage. Like that's just not something that they cover, which I find weird because you would think you would want markers and stuff. But I at least haven't located like an easily accessible grant that we could pursue to do stuff like that. I think, wayfinding kind of things would be great. I'm gonna circle that one because I might just remove that because I don't know what that's supposed to be about. Okay, so then encourage property owners to install plaques recognizing historic properties where appropriate. So the commission was like, we could do social media posts, we could provide information about where to purchase plaques locally. We had all those plaques made by the folks in the orchards. So then again, we went to the plaques, coming up with a policy. If you wanted to recognize someone and they wanted to purchase a plaque, you would have kind of guidelines for that so they all look the same. Review the HPC website annually to make updates. So then we had restoration possibilities, so capital projects for city-owned properties. So we had the Carnegie Building, which actually has had some repair work done over the last year. And then the towers at Modi Park. But again, I think that the Modi Park Conservatory people were able to get a grant to do some repair work on the second tower. And then restoration project of the steps and pathways between downtown and Normal Hill. That one is a much larger project to chew. I know that it was identified, the restoration of the stairs and pathways is identified in the downtown master plan and is on the Urban Renewal Agency's downtown Normal Hill revenue allocation area. So there is the potential in the future for a project to maybe happen with that separate body because they have tax increment financing available to them. Let's see, so then building partnerships to promote historic preservation by developing mutually beneficial partnerships with local communities and advocacy groups whose values and interests align with the city's areas of heritage, arts, and sustainability. I think we tried to do that, especially with the Liberty Theater and the museum. BDL is sleeping right now.
So should that be changed to chamber/BDL?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna circle that one, that needs to be updated. Realtor Association, we do reach out with them. I'm not 100% sure how we would integrate LCSC. part of the problem with, I know it's a problem, part of the situation with LCSC is because they are mostly state-owned properties, they don't have to get building permits from the city. They defer to the state for all their building permits. So although we will sometimes catch items that need to be reviewed by this body in like downtown, it's harder to identify work that they're doing just because we don't have that building permit trigger. But that's something to explore, right? And then the Nez Perce Tribe, and then we previously added, so we'll just combine the chamber with the previous VDL one, and then Visit Lewis Clark Valley was another one that was added. So those are all the items on the current plan. So then moving on to items that were identified in the action plan for the comprehensive plan. The ones that I thought were most applicable, and I can send the entire action plan to the commission if you guys would like to read the whole thing. It's quite lengthy, it covers lots of different areas, it's very interesting. But these were the only ones I thought really applied to this particular commission. So both of these are under community character. So CC 1.2 is develop downtown's historic identity, preserve and reinvigorate downtown's architectural heritage with further preservation of historic buildings and thoughtful redevelopment and infill projects in and around downtown. So under that objective, there is 1.2.1, which is evaluate the downtown historic district boundary to consider expanding them to other areas around downtown to expand the identity and pedestrian oriented nature of downtown. I don't know if that's something we want to pursue right now. We did do a boundary increase in 2018. That was an expensive endeavor.
It was a lot of work.
And it was a lot of work, and we had a consultant doing a majority of the work. And honestly, like I don't, with the exception of a couple of spot buildings that are past that 9th Street, I don't know that there is like an all-encompassing need to expand that corridor. You know, there are some outlying buildings, like the Bargain Hunter Mall, like the Meacham Mills Mystic Building. There are some cool, the train station, which is a register building. There are a couple, but I don't know that there would be enough contributing properties to warrant a district expansion in that direction.
I think we might just be irritating people more than we'd be coming up with something great for us as a community.
Right. So I just completed an upzone initiative with the Planning and Zoning Commission around the Sunset Park area, and I know that this commission has discussed it at different points in the past, and it has been brought up by SHPO at different points in the past, but one resident of that neighborhood did bring up the idea of having that designated as a historic area, probably more like an overlay like Normal Hill is for the mid-century modern situation. I don't know if we want to pursue that, but that is something that has been mentioned a couple of times in the 6 years that I have been with this commission.
Would that be just motivation because there are a couple of people who have eyesore properties in there now and they're hoping to get them improved, or?
No, I think that particular resident was looking for protections. I'm not real sure what kind of protections he thinks an overlay zone actually provides, but that's what I think he was trying to go with, was to protect the character of the neighborhood. Okay, so 1.2.2 is encourage and assist owners of historic structures to pursue state and national register of historic places designation and educate them on the financial benefits of designation.
We kind of already Aren't we supposed to be doing that already?
We are. I think the problem lies in that that's not something that like homeowners are necessarily
Yeah.
interested in. And then if you actually look at the requirements for a National Register designation, like it's strict.
It's a lot of,
yeah,
and it's
no.
a lot of work.
Yeah,
A
there's
lot
a
of research, a lot
ton
of
of
writing.
stuff.
Well, that's why I say, I mean,
So most people aren't.
it comes up once every 10 years.
Yeah,
that
so
we
I
want
would say a
something.
lot of people are not necessarily interested in pursuing that. And I think that when you do find people who are interested in pursuing that, it's more for commercial structures because they want to be able to,
Tax.
get the
Tax
tax
stuff.
credits. There's certain grants that are easier to apply for if you're a registered property. So I think it's usually more in the commercial sphere than it is in the residential sphere. And then 1, 2, 3 is provide expertise and support additional applications for appropriate grants and funding from the National Trust for Historic Preservation to ensure that downtown maintains its historic character. So the expertise part is difficult because none of us are grant writers. And honestly, like the city does not maintain all of those records. Like people think that we do, but we don't. Like we have property records, but those usually, I mean, those are only as good as the people who are keeping the paper, right? So we don't always have items that people believe we should have.
But as far as these three statements are concerned, really none of them should bother us. I mean, they're all things that we do in part, right?
Yes, I would say yes. And there's not really, I mean, they're all things that are kind of just happening in the background, right? So I don't know that we need to make those necessarily projects, but they are just things that I wanted to bring in front of the group. So then moving on to the next page, so this is on page 5 of that community character section. So explore the creation of an arts and creative district. Such districts bring together the creative community, build character, and can transform underutilized areas. So this might be something where we reach out to partnering agencies and see if that would be something that a larger conglomeration of us would want to work on. Study the feasibility of and engage with the community to determine the viability and preferred location of an arts and creative district. While downtown may be the natural home for this, it may be utilized as a tool to further provide purpose and identity to areas with less identity, such as North Lewiston or East Main Street, and then form and implement a creative district plan for the chosen area to attract and enable arts and cultural offerings. And then proceed.
This is the thing that's kind of happening. Like right now, Jeff Carlin's mural is being painted on the Howell building to
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I once again, there's nothing here that should alarm us because I think there are people looking at them, and there are, like the Rotary, for example, gets interested in some of these projects as they pop up, and I mean they happen. I
Yes.
don't know that we are going to be directly involved in recruiting these projects.
Yeah, so again, just things to put on the table. So then pursue grants and outside funding to support arts and culture, secure diversified and sustainable funding to bring more stability to arts and cultural resources to Lewiston. And then consider implementing an arts board or commission to regularly coordinate arts and cultural programs and resources.
There is an arts board, right? That Dina Heath is the chair of, that works out of they work with the library all the time. There is an arts board related to the library.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's the library one. Is there a separate one?
Not that I'm aware of currently. There has been in the past.
So I'm aware of the one with the library. So that would also be something where, I could reach out to Lynn and figure out who is on that board and be like, do you have a project that we could assist with?
Yeah. The current chair of that is Dina Heath.
So That's all I have for you guys.
You know, that one would be important to us if they renovate, if they resurrected the idea of putting a mural on the west side of the library and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
We'd have to keep our finger there, I think.
Yes. So that's kind of all I have for you guys. So normally the way we've done this is I throw a lot of information at you, and then I ask you to come back with ideas at the next meeting.
There you go.
And so I think that that's how we do it again.
Yeah.
So I would encourage you guys, and I'll send a follow-up email to our couple of members who are not here today. I will provide a copy of the action plan so you guys have that in a digital form. And just, you know, think of things that you guys would like to concentrate in the next 12 to 18 months.
Sounds good.
Continuing the church's project, that could be looking kind of larger at just historic properties within Lewiston that have like local significance. Other things that you just think might be fun to work on or would provide benefit to the community.
Cool.
And that's all I got.
Okay. Well, does anybody have any quick comments regarding that?
I had just the fact that the Liberty is supposed to have the marquee finished by the end of next week. We have had a tremendous amount of difficulty with the construction firm change orders, $47,000 beam that we didn't know about, you know, a few things like that. We are actively working on the funding for the blade so that that can be done soon. Just to let you know that the Liberty is intending to have a lighting ceremony on the 21st of August. And then also at the library on the 20th of August, the library and the museum are co-sponsoring an event where Steve Branting will talk about the Volmers and the development of the Volmers. And I think it's particularly significant that his health is allowing him to do a limited number of presentations again, which is delightful.
Yeah,
And you said that's the 20th?
those are good.
Yes, and that's at 5:30 p.m.
Super. Any other commissioner comments?
Question,
Yes, sir.
our last meeting regarding the certificate appropriateness on the 207 prospect. Any feedback from them? Because I think we had a couple questions for them.
We asked him to not do the shed roof on the one side and to do a dormer. He seemed to be okay with all of that.
Okay.
He has not pulled his building permits for those yet. It sounds like he has some other kind of repair work that might need to be done before he pursues the dormer projects. Because he sent me an email last week asking about some other things that they've identified that are need to be fixed first,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So we might be seeing another certificate of appropriateness. He's trying to determine to what level things have to be done. Yeah, so we might be seeing another certificate of appropriateness from him.
Perfect, thank you.
But he didn't seem to have any problems with it, like he was a contractor out of California, so.
Well, thanks for remembering that.
But yes, I have been speaking with him frequently.
Anybody else?
You mentioned LCSC, and I was just going to mention that I can reach out to the professor at the history department there and see if they have any desire to partner with us on some future projects.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Working with the students. I've got a bunch of ideas I'll bring to the table next time, but
Excellent.
just to start that partnership with LCSC.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it has to be anything big, but it could be working with the students even.
Yes, that would be awesome. I don't remember what the lady's name is who's currently at Arts and History, but previous to her, a gal named Emily Brown had been their director or whatever. And we worked with her quite a few times. And
Christopher Riggs, I believe, is the main head of the history department.
But yeah, if you have a contact, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great.
Have there
I
been
know
shows?
Well, and he's husband of one of our members,
Oh, well, there we go.
or not husband, relative, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was like, whose husband?
Doug is the husband, sorry. That's the way that goes. My brain is fried. Um, yeah, I think there might be some interest. The mayor mentioned the other day during a coffee session that I had with him that they are progressing as a city with the cemetery project.
Yes.
And we may want to hear some about that in the future as well.
Oh, yeah, I can reach out to Dave.
Yep.
These two.
I would move that we adjourn.
Does anyone else have any other things to say
Second
first?
it.
We good? We good? Okay.
All right, do you need to query about next month?
Yeah, I do.
I don't even remember what next month's meeting is.
It's in September.
It's in September. You guys will get an email. If you can't come, let me know.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, so we had a motion and a second.
do we have a
September
motion and a
3rd.
second?
Dennis motioned.
Okay.
Second. Greg said
Whoever,
second.
yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
I
Aye,
Aye.
opposed?
Okay.
Thank you.
41.
Look
Thank you,
at that,
everybody.
you're out of here 4
Good,
minutes.
because I was in the bathroom. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Bob.